I was having a conversation with a journalist from a progress. So I will skip the pre-event talk that I normally keep going on about the charity, about how much we are raising, and all this sort of thing. So let's jump straight into it. That's the wrong one. So once again, I see a lot of chat on the Lee Chess platform, and I'm told that Andrey is doing very well in many of the boards. So let's choose a particularly interesting one. I see there's one where against Benedict Cole. Just make sure I'm not blocking the board. Yeah. So this position looks like it's going to be over very soon. In the present situation at least. Okay, we see a Nimzo Indian, which is one of Andre's favorite openings. Bishop d2 is kind of like uh, somewhat of a sideline. I think that these days they are going e3 followed by bishop d2 in some situations, but bishop d2 this early is kind of alien to me. c5, e3. Okay, now he goes e3. Yeah, it looks like black has more or less equalized quite comfortably very early on in the opening. So I would suggest that at this point there are many good moves against the Nimzo Indian. There's queen to c2. There's e3. There's knight to f3. So all these moves are extremely concrete and gives white a very playable game. f3 as well, I think, is currently the hottest line at this point, which I believe Grandmaster Ting Liren's is the is at the forefront of the opening theory of this line. So bishop d2, c5, e3, castles, a3, bishop c3, knight to e4, knight to e2, b6, takes, queen h4, g3, queen to h6. Black has comfortably equalized, but as far as I know, I don't think white is in any trouble as of now. Oh, come on. Okay, so of course after this the game is immediately over. Missing a one mover, it was certainly not in Benedict's plans, I'm presuming. Yeah, so of course white has to go king to c2, and if black goes something like bishop a6, he goes maybe b3. Yeah, and things are hardly clear. So after knight to a5, dc5, knight b3, the game is, for all intents and purposes, quite over. And now it's just a matter of time. There was a draw offer in the game, and I hope it wasn't before the queen blunder. Let's look at some other. Do we have a crazy position that is worth looking at? Let me look at the chat. Chat, as always. extremely vibrant whenever it comes to these events. This one looks like an interesting one against. Yeah, I can't pronounce this. Let me look at the player list. Against Mathavak 0706. Yeah, let me take a look. Yeah, Mathav. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. I will need to get some form of education uh, from you after the game, or if somebody can pronounce it for me. Yeah, but this position looks very, very interesting. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6. Yeah, knight c3 was something that I kind of covered in one of the previous streams. And that in general, yeah, somebody is asking whether I got arrested for not wearing a mask, but that's not the case. I did wear a mask whenever I leave the house, so. But yeah, somebody is asking me for a challenge on the chat, but I'm kind of covering an event now. So knight c3 is a very typical mistake that you might not be aware of, and it's definitely something that you should learn if you, whether you're an e4 player or if you respond to e4 with 1 e5. So here the best move is either pawn to d3 or knight to g5. These are the two kind of acknowledged responses to the two knight defense. So knight c3 is a mistake because of knight takes e4, which Andrey obviously knew probably when he was a kid. I'll probably ask him about this. So over here, knight takes e4, d5, and black has already more than equalized in this position, I think. In fact, I would argue that he's a little bit better. The critical position that I believe I also covered in the stream is that white should go castles, and here after knight takes c3, d takes c3, the white's attack might look quite dangerous after queen to d5, something like rook to e1, knight to g5, and black has to be precise, and if he knows his stuff, he will respond with f6, and black is supposed to be doing quite well here. This is a very, very old line. I think I've learned about this since maybe 25 years ago, so pretty sure that nothing has really changed much since then. Yeah, after knight c3, knight takes e4. Yeah, I believe I even covered this actually after bishop b5, d takes e4. So guys, I mean, watch my stream. So there's really no excuse for playing an opening error like this. After I actually, discuss this position at length. Queen to g5. Yeah, and this position is quite lost, I believe. Queen takes g2. Yeah, rook f1. Yeah, this looks very, very good for black now. I'm trying to think of a way where black could get even more than what he got from the game. He played a6. I was thinking of bishop d6. Bishop d6 with the idea knight takes c6 and bishop to d7. Yeah, this looks great as well. a6 also looks great. And after, let's say, yeah, he played bishop c4. I believe knight takes e5 is in order. Knight takes e5, d takes e5, and yeah, probably something simple like bishop e7, and black is rocking here. So let's keep jumping into it. I think we have a good player, 2100 player, Sean Christian Go. One of our best young players. I'm interested to know how he's doing. d4, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, g3. Yeah, this is kind of like one of those lines that's recommended by Christoph Silecki on his Chessable course. I think the course is called Keep It Simple 1D4. If you have never heard of Chessable, then it's time to get used to some of these resources, which can be very, very useful for especially in these days when you are stuck at home anyways. So here Andrey chose d6, which is a King's Indian kind of approach. Another way, yeah, is to play pawn to d5, and you get some kind of a Grunfeld type of position. D takes c4, knight to a3, I think. Pawn to c3, takes. Pawn to c5. Yeah, I think they go rook to e1, knight to d5, bishop to b2, knight to c6, e4, knight to b6, and I think here the most critical move is rook to b1, as I understand, with the idea of maybe playing d4 to d5 and c3 to c4 with the bishop being defended by the rook, and hence exchanging bishops is not such a bad thing for white generally in this Grunfeld type of positions. So this is one way that the game could have gone. The other way that could happen was Benoni kind of approach with c5, but I have reason to believe that this particular position, concretely, the black is not doing great. I think that white could take on c5, I think. Yeah. And knight to e4 is not quite possible because of queen to d5, and white holds on to the pawn. So let's say black goes knight a6, white can go bishop e3. So I think this position is acknowledged as quite good for white at this point in time. So instead, Andrey went for d6, and after b3, yeah, this is definitely something from the Chessable course. That's for sure. And there are many different approaches that black can take. So c5 is one of those, and not surprising because Andrey is a fan of the Blumenfeld Gambit and the Benoni, so not enough surprising that he chose a move like c5 at this point. There are many other options available at this juncture. For instance, knight bd7. I'm seeing some reports saying that there are some drop frames, so if there's any disruption with the stream, please let me know, and I'll try to fix whatever that's causing this. As far as I see, my internet is working well, so I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, I'm seeing that there's a lot of drop frames. Basically, it means that I got disconnected in bits and pieces. Yeah, this position is quite interesting actually. I also played this before with the white pieces. And the main point is after e5, d takes e5, knight to g4. Black intends to recapture on e5 with a piece, whether it's the g knight or the d knight, and then exchange one minor piece, giving black a bit more space in his position. But after a move like c4, I think knight takes e5, and here it's kind of important to be careful. I go knight to c3, and generally this structure is quite good when you're playing against this particular structure. So black's pawn breaks in the center with say c6 d5 is a pipe dream and very unlikely to materialize, whereas his other possible pawn break with a6 to b5 could be easily countered with, for example, with something like a to a4, and at the same time the bishop on g2 will be strengthened considerably with this pawn advancement. So this is kind of like a tricky situation for King's Indian players who like to attack ferociously. There's no kingside attack, and there's no active play, so that is the whole point of white's system. Yeah, instead, Andrey quite understandably went for something very active with c5, bishop b2, and now, yeah, knight of d7 is something innovative. So making use of the diagonal. Maybe he wants to take and play knight to c5. Hmm. So I'm wondering, what if white goes as per normal? He plays c4. It just feels like white is still a bit better. And for example, knight to c6, pawn to e3. Is white not just better here? Yeah, I mean, it feels like that. It feels like it to me. It's not so clear where black is supposed to get counterplay from. Uh, I think I could liken this to another a completely different opening. For example, pawn to c4, c5. Let's say knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop g2. Let's say d6. White castles. Let's say black plays e6, which is quite a common opening. Pawn goes to e3, knight g7, pawn to d4, and black castles. So we get something quite similar in terms of the pawn structure. But obviously black's placement is a little bit different in this case as compared to the game, because now the knight is on e7 with some avenue of going to f5, attacking the d4 pawn. And also the comparison, you could see that the pawn is on e6 as compared to e7 as happened in the game. So I'm not very sure what these differences mean concretely, but I feel that generally white is doing quite well there. So instead, white continue with queen c1, I think, to support the b2 bishop, and followed by rook to d1, I guess. Yeah, generally I want to recapture on d4 with a pawn. So that's, but okay, this is also quite fine for white. He goes forward with c2 c4 as well as e2 to e4. Yeah, okay. After this, the position becomes very quiet. Obviously, b takes c6 is forced. You cannot play this because knight takes e7, and a very nasty Zwizen intermediate move. If somebody can pronounce that for me, that will be fine. Somebody from the Netherlands or German. Sorry, that's of course a German word. Yeah, knight takes c6, bishop b2 loses. So b takes c6, and let's say a move like c4. Yeah, black's doing quite alright here. I guess he's going to play c5 at some point, rook to b8. But if anyone could be better, it has to be white still, in my opinion. Yeah, so I'm very interested to know to see how this game continues. Yeah, c4 played, rook b8 and knight c3. Yeah, this position is just very easy for white to play, and I think that absolutely no risk for him. Black kind of gotten the best possible version of accelerated the dragon or g3 kings Indian type of position, because so many pieces have been exchanged that I will find it very hard to believe that he's in serious trouble. Yeah, but the position is a bit too simple to kind of get any kind of imbalance. Alright, moving on. I was told that Andrey is playing extremely fast, so it appears that yeah, his time management has been quite commendable. So this game looks interesting. This game looks like against Speedster 113. This game looks completely lost for white. Speedster 113. That's Ethan Sim. Whoa. And black has 26 minutes. So Ethan Sim is one of our best young players. I think he finished among the top 10 in the national age group under 8 section. Yeah, so this position is a little bit like the Berlin, and yeah, d6. Yeah, d6 is kind of an inaccuracy. Of course, black has to go knight takes e4, which is a standard Berlin move. Yeah, this position. I think there was a famous Nimzowicz Capablanca game that should be that I should mention a little bit about. Yeah, okay, never mind. That would take too long. There will be quite a fair bit of digression. But this position looks quite fine for white. A5. Yeah, I have to say I'm not certain about b3 because a5 is kind of like a strange move. I honestly I don't see the main idea of this move at all. I'm trying to understand this, but it is not clear to me. So I thought that maybe bishop g5 would have made more sense, followed by rook a d1, because after b3 suddenly a4, and you kind of help to justify the fact that he has made this eccentric looking pawn advancement. And b takes a4 is something that I'm not kind of expecting. Right, really? B takes a4? Yeah, this is extremely surprising. I'm going to have to ask him about this. Yeah, this is I'm kind of left speechless as you can tell, because this is completely against how Andrey normally plays his games. He doesn't do something so direct. So I'm wondering whether somebody cut his queue at the supermarket today, and he's trying to take it out on his opponent, because he normally does not do things like this, like opening up the G file, going king h1. I Honestly, I'm extremely surprised with this. And then now he offers a queen trade. So what is going on? No, what is going on in this game? I don't want to be disrespectful, but I have no idea what's happening in this game because it just looks like what is completely lost here. And he had a lot of time to spare, so yeah. So now g6 and yeah, there are still some tricks, but I believe rook takes e4 wins on the spot. Yeah, rook takes e4 and the game is over because the bishop has just no good squares to go. Rook takes e4, g7. Let's say king to g8, or you can just take on g7, f g7 and king to g8. And this bishop, okay, you can go to f6. Yeah, but this position is just dead. So this, okay, rook takes e4 plate and g7 plate. The game is going to be over very, very soon. Yeah, I wouldn't play bishop g7. I would play king g8 just in case I get mated, like with rook d1. But yeah, okay, this the game is more or less over. Benedict is going crazy on the chat. He needs to calm down, man. Okay, I'm told that the game against Knight Ninja is interesting. Let's take a look. Yeah, and over here now, Black plays a Queen's Gambit decline and transpose. Okay, it now transposes into a Ragozin. Yeah, so this particular move order of the Queen's Gambit is actually not that common if you want to play the Ragozin variation. So the Ragozin variation goes after knight f, for instance, the usual move order is that after d4, knight f6, c4 e6, knight f3, and now black goes d5, knight to c3, and bishop b4. So this is kind of like the usual way of getting to the Ragozin. And the point is that if you go d4, d5, c4, e6, white could go knight to c3, and you kind of lost the option to play the Nimzo Indian defense. And you can go bishop b4 here, but it's not the same. It's not the same opening at all. And now if black goes knight to f6, white could take on d5, entering into either the exchange variation of the Queen's Gambit or the quite popular line, the semi-Tarrasch. And after e4, knight c3, bc3, c5. Yeah, this line has been contested at the very highest level by led by the ex-world champion Vladimir Kramnik. So of course, Andrey is well versed in many different openings, and he of course he knows a bit about everything. So here he essays the Ragozin. I think here there are many moves. I think bishop g5 is a critical line. The other move is queen to a4. Yeah, queen to a4, knight to c6, and pawn to e3. So I believe this is the other option for white. So bishop d2, once again you see that it is quite common for. This seems to be a common response. For instance, against the Nimzo Indian in the earlier game, somebody played bishop d2, and now we see the same kind of. It could be just a knee-jerk reaction, but normally there's a better response to this. So after bishop b4, bishop d2 castles, e3. Now it transposes into something like a e3 Nimzo Indian. Yeah, a6 is kind of. So what I do know is that the line that I'm aware of is at least is pawn to b6. And if c takes d5, e d5, bishop d3, they go bishop b7. And let's say a3, he goes either bishop d6 or bishop e7. Let's say bishop e7, and black continues with knight bd7, c5. White continues with castles, knight to e5 and f4, queen to f3 with a kingside attack. So this is generally how the games have gone, or at least in mainstream theory. So a6 is something that probably something that Andrey wants to experiment with, or he has some original ideas over here. So as far as I can see, if white goes let's say a3, I'm suspecting that maybe he wanted to take, followed by dc4 and b5. And if not, let's say he goes back, c takes d5, e takes d5, and bishop d3 could be playable. And white could go b2 b4 and rook to c1 at some point. Yeah, so instead white continued with bishop d3, d takes c4, bishop c4, b5, and yeah, bishop d3, bishop b7. Looks like a perfectly fine position, I guess. Castles, knight bd7. Yeah, here I guess one of the main ideas for white is to try to engineer the pawn advancement, the e3 to e4, and grab more space in the center. White should try to go rook to e1, I guess, at some point, and black has to think of a way to extricate the dark square bishop from this somewhat delicate situation on the b4 square, given that he doesn't really want to give up the bishop pair at this point, but he also does not want to retreat voluntarily and admit that he kind of lost the tempo with this. So this is turning out to look like something like from a Queen's Gambit accepted point of view, but maybe there's something to be said about this approach, given that the white's bishop does not commit to the d2 square quite so quickly. Yeah, rook to c1 was played, h6, a3, bishop d6, and maybe b2, b4 is something to consider, stopping this c7, c5 for good. But okay, black can also try to play e6 to e5 with reasonable counterplay. e5, e4, e5, d5. Yeah, now the position becomes quite tense. c5, I like this move. I think it's fighting hard for the initiative. The point being, at some moment you want to go c5 to c4 and putting a piece on the c5 square. Pawn to b3, knight h5, maybe some ideas like queen to f6 and make use of the f4 square, a4, and now yeah, c4 is a very interesting move to dominate the dark squares. Yeah, and here, yeah, rook to c5 is yeah, this looks extremely creative, but I kind of like it. I'm just not sure whether it works concretely. So there is of course a very famous game where black sacrifices a couple of pawns to get complete dark square control in the King's Indian. I'll have to ask Andrey to demonstrate that game, maybe perhaps later in the post-game analysis. So he is not he definitely knows motifs like this, exchange sacrifices to completely take over the control over the dark squares. So the only question is whether white wins the a5 pawn as well, because if white manages to take on a5 and the rook, the b4 pawn will fall and black's position collapses. So as far as I know, after bishop takes c5, I'm guessing bishop takes c5, and now if knight takes a5, there's going to be some tricks over here on the king side. There could be knight takes d3 followed by bishop f2, but I'm not so sure that you want to give away the dark square bishop of yours. Yeah, so this is a maybe this is a critical position. Okay, firstly there's also queen to b6. Okay, queen b6, there's knight takes b7, and this not, I'm not sure that this works. Bishop f2, king f1. And now bishop takes e1, and then black wins, I think. Unless there's c5. Wow, what a position. Queen takes b7, and how is the piece count? Like, black is a piece up, but he has to take with the bishop, with the king. And now a move like queen a7 could be very, very awkward. With the point of putting the knight to c5 regardless of what white does. Like queen to c2, knight takes c5. And this piece is hanging because queen c5, and then you lose the house. Yeah, I really like this rook c5 move. White, to his credit, refuses the gift, which I can completely understand, given that the rook is kind of obliged to remain on the c5 square, because black cannot afford to lose his queenside pawns, which are the main reasons why he has compensation. He definitely needs the a5 b4 pawn chain to exist. Yeah, this is a very, very tense position, and the chess purist in me want this to work for white. For black, I mean. I really want this to work for black. Psychodaki is asking why black cannot play bishop f2. So after bishop c5 takes and bishop f2, king to f2, and there's some kind of mate, I guess. I have to admit that I completely missed this, so all credit to Miss Psychodaki. King to g3, queen f2. King h3. Bishop c8. And there's some g4 stuff. I'm not sure about this. But it does look very, very threatening. Okay, I can at the very minimum I can also go knight takes d3. But I'll end up a piece down, I guess. No, same material. But I need to make sure that I can stop this c4, c5. Knight takes d3 wins, of course. Because there are no good squares for the king. Wow. Okay, this just wins. The game is over. White cannot take on f2. And the point is, after king g1, I wanted to play queen b6 thinking that this is winning, but now I see that there's a move c5, which is kind of makes things awkward for me, since I was so confident that this position was completely winning. And after knight takes c5, knight to c4, queen to a7, and it's a mess. Yeah, but I definitely will enjoy playing black here. I'm just an exchange down and I have loads of play. And I have a strong pawn. I could even take the rook back at some point. Yeah, this position is just winning. So after... Yeah, it looks like bishop f2 wins. So I'm interested to know how this game has progressed. Let's just check it out. So I think Yeah, black has lost his pawns, which is what I said, what I what I wanted to prevent in the analysis. So okay, black played bishop c8, which, to be honest, I feel intuitively I don't feel particularly comfortable with. You know, I feel like if you want to give one rook, why not give two? So why not play rook to c8, and if it takes on c5, recapture with the rook and just give both rooks. So what I was trying to say is that you can go rook f8, and if knight takes c5, okay, or bishop takes c5, you go rook takes c5, and after knight c5, knight takes c5 or bishop c5, both look quite interesting. Objectively, this should be completely lost, but you know, I've seen more obscure material imbalance. Okay, so my idea is to go queen to b6 and maybe knight f6, knight e8, knight to d6, and completely taking control over the dark squares. The black bishop can go to d4. This looks very nice for black. I would play this. I would take this position anytime. Unless I'm missing something that loses at one go. So the Russian Steam roller, I think that's FIDE Master Andrey Tarakov just said that black is at least not worse. But do you mean that after this position that black is not worse? After knight takes b4? Ah, okay, there's knight takes e4. I guess that kind of compensates for something, I guess. There's also knight takes... Okay, now I see that a4 is hanging. That was way back in the analysis. Yeah, okay, I thought there was... Yeah, firstly there's knight takes e4, which I'm not quite sure how this will pan out. After rook e4, bishop takes b4. Where is this knight going? Knight to c6 maybe. Yeah, this I will argue that the black is close to lost. So I don't think this is quite playable. But whatever you do here, I think white will put a piece on c6 and kind of jam up the black's coordination for his 4 pieces. Let's go queen to d2. Let's go queen d2 to kind of support this. No more knight takes e4 tricks. Yeah, this looks like trouble for black. So I'll be interested to see how Andrey can save this one. Okay, so he has lost one game. I suspect that's the one against the Speedster. Yep, so the game has ended. He has won 3. I see KC Ko. After ed4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c6, bc. Yeah, once again the Scotch, which I think Bernie played yesterday as well, is was also under scrutiny, and she also collapsed quite quickly after falling prey to some tactics. After castles, bishop b2, f6, takes. Yeah, so this is very typical of how the Scotch can end up quite badly for if white is does not complete development in time. So I believe here something has gone wrong. That's for sure. After bishop b2, f6, maybe f4, maybe long castle. Maybe here white should go long castle and get out of the way. You go queen to c2, bishop to d3, and so on. Yeah, certainly white should play long castle here. That's for sure. Make a move like queen to c2 and then bishop to d3, and I think the position is just quite normal. So instead, black played bishop b4. Sorry, white played g3, bishop b4, queen c2, queen f3, and now black is close to winning, I think. Yeah, and rook takes e2. Yeah, this is what can happen. When you are not. Yeah, okay, so this plate you made. So in the squash, you have to be very, very precise with the opening play. So let's look at some of the. I see a game with Jaden Chua. Let's look at it. c3. Yeah, this is quite an interesting system, but I believe that this is best played if black had gone d6. And after c3, knight f6, you can go either bishop e2 or bishop d3. So these are the two moves that are normally played in this against the second move d6 in the Sicilian. But with knight c6, bishop d3, d5 kind of just probably equalizes on the spot, or maybe black is even better already. Because apart from e takes d5, I don't see any other satisfactory move. For instance, after e4 to e5, knight to g4. Yeah, queen e2, queen c7. Yeah, this looks great for black. Yeah, instead, yeah, also if white captures on d5, black plays queen takes d5. And this bishop is hanging. Black can go e5 and even play e5 to e4, staking a further claim in the center, and bishop to g4. I think the position is quite overwhelming. There's also bishop d6. Yeah. So already I think on move 4 after d5, black has more than equalized. Bishop c2, d knight g5, bishop g4, and yeah, just a clean pawn up. Yeah, knight d4 and okay, just okay, very, very efficient and ruthless conversion by Andrey. He's in an aggressive mood today. So that's the one against Jaden Chua, and then he suffered a loss against I forgot, Speedster one. Let me check his name again. Yeah, Ethan Sim. So well done to the boy. And then he has beaten yeah, I can't pronounce this name is a bit tricky for me. So let's take a look at some of the other games that I have not covered. This one looks like a complicated ending that white is trying to hold. Black is a couple of pawns up. So Andrey tries the Scandinavian with queen d6, which is a specialty of Russian grandmaster, or should I say Dutch grandmaster, Sergei Tivyakov. Knight f6, knight f3, bishop g4. Yeah, this used to be a very very popular line in the Singapore chess community when a Hungarian well-known trainer Tibor Karoli was here, and he taught many of his students this particular line with Queen D6 and Bishop G4, way before it kind of exploded in terms of popularity. So some of our best young players, such as international master Jason Go and Evan Yo, they were playing this line quite regularly in serious events. But now I think in terms of concrete opening theory wise, pawn to G3 is considered to be very very close to a refutation as far as I understand. The idea of going bishop f4 and then bishop g2 and the bishop pair, I mean the bishops just work very efficiently in this line. Okay, white continue with bishop e2, which is not the most direct, but of course very playable. a6, knight c6, bishop e3, e6. Yeah, white has played some standard moves like rook to e1, bishop to e3. All these are good moves, but you need to have a certain directness to your approach in order to refute a line like this one. So black has consolidated his pieces and is in pretty good shape. Queen d2, bishop f3. Okay, stealing a pawn in broad daylight. It feels like there's some kind of trick happening. Okay, I'm pretty certain that Andrey has seen rook takes d1, followed by bishop f2, but the f7 pawn is hanging in the end. So after takes, which understandably kind of overcomplicates the matters, because now his pawns are weakened due to the loss of the f7 pawn, and white's queen is safe and can create threats of its own. Thanks for following. So queen to e5 or queen to e3. I don't know, I feel like this position is still very very good for black actually, but maybe no need for this. Queen to f4 plate, queen f3, takes. So black is a pawn up in the opposite color bishop ending, but with rooks on, white is very very far away from a draw. Because the point is black should be able to make his extra pawn count for something if he can create some threats with the rook and the bishop. So for instance, putting a rook on the e file and trying to advance the pawn to e4, and supported by, let's say, a pawn chain with, let's say, h7, g6, f5, e4, and then the rook here, and thinking of some ideas of e4 to e3. But yeah, winning this game is of course not at all trivial. Yeah, so far white has done quite well, I would say. Okay, I don't like g4 because it weakens his pawn structure. Maybe g3 could be played, but it's really easier to suggest moves than to actually play them, because this position is really quite unpleasant. Maybe to exchange pawns I would play h5. The more pawns you change, the more chances you have of surviving this endgame. So I would play h5, and maybe after this g4, and yeah, I would argue that white is very very close to a draw actually. Hg6 followed by g4. I'm not saying I can draw this, but I will give myself fair chances here. And I think the main reason is once you manage to sort of weaken the f5 pawn, then black's pieces is kind of tied down. So let's say I go rook to f8, hg takes, I go g4. Now okay, there's rook h8. There's this annoying little move, so I cannot rush with g4. Okay, but I can go g3. Yeah, and obviously black is the only one who can win, but he will have a hard task ahead. Yeah, g4 takes, rook f8. Now zooming in onto the f4 square. f3, h5, bishop e6, rook f4, takes, check. And this looks very promising for black now. Two extra pawns. There's bishop c8, but it can be met sufficiently by bishop to c7 and the b7 pawn holds. The black rook goes to h2, and then you have a look around and see how you can uh, improve your position. Maybe a4, a3, and then see how you can disentangle this kind of awkwardness on the queen side. So let's go back to the games and see if there's something else that's happened. Okay, we are not, Andrey is at 5-1 now, which is a very decent score. Let's look at some of these games. Against Goose Feathers, Alisa Ng, the current national under 8 champion. Under 8, I mean. I think I learned how to play chess when I was 10. So these days, I think the age, if you start learning the game at the age of 10, is probably considered on the old side. Okay, so Andrey played the Caro-Kann, which is also something that he has studied before. He actually played this in the recent tournament game in Australia. d4, knight takes e4, bishop f5, knight to g3, bishop g6, h4, h6, knight f3, knight d7. Yeah, bishop d3. I think it's an inaccuracy. I think white should have gone h5. Maybe she forgotten about this. h5, bishop h7, followed by bishop d3. So gaining an additional tempo in this respect. After bishop d3, takes, knight to f6. Yeah, you want the pawn to be on h5 to sort of like limit black's king side. Yeah, black is very comfortable at this point. Castles. Yeah, g5 is a very nice move. So I think white has kind of gotten her openings mixed up, and right now having the pawn on h4 is clearly to her detriment, because after, let's say, hg5, it doesn't matter how you recapture on the g5 square. Black goes bishop e7 followed by rook dg8, and he has a very good attack on the king side. So the rook is on h8, is fully developed without having to move, and black's king is a lot safer than white's. So after gh4, knight h4, knight to e5, very nice move. Queen to c2, knight to g4, and yeah, this looks very promising for black. Yeah, c5 is something that yeah, I wouldn't do this actually, because it gives away a very important square, the d5 square. And now actually I would have played rook to d5. I don't see anything wrong with this, with the idea of going maybe h5 or even to g5, I don't know. But instead, Andrey probably wanted to put a knight to d5 and the rook on g8, which may eventually happen. Yeah, now knight to e4 and f2 pawn is very weak. Whoa, very nice. Very nice combination. So the point is, if white captures on either knight, let's say this one, black goes rook d3, followed by queen to e3, with probably with mate to follow. Knowing Andrey, I think he's just having fun here. Queen to c4. I mean, I'm pausing here because I'm trying to find mate, but I actually don't see mate. Okay, let's see the game. And also I wanted to understand what happens if white goes something like rook to d1. What happens if rook to d1? Don't I take the rook? Like, I mean, rook takes d4 would be an excellent move to play if it works, given that you put 3 important pieces on pre at the same time. But I'm going to switch on the engine in a few seconds, but I'm trying to work it out on my own and I can't quite understand this. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see what I am missing. Maybe rook d1 there is maybe he was intending queen to g5, but still I can play just rook takes d4. Sorry, I mean I'll play knight takes d4, queen h4, and then I take this one. And you don't even get a perpetual because after take, sorry, queen f2, king h2, or let's say king h2. Yeah, you don't even get a perpetual because queen f4 can be replied by the g3, I think. Okay, but things are looking very dicey for white. I'm not sure. So let's see if this is a brilliant sacrifice, and it's not. Rook a d1 wins. Yeah, so rook a. So this is one of the most difficult moves to make, I think, in the position when you have 3 pieces hanging at the same time, and the best move is involve not taking any of these pieces. Yeah, so rook a d1 just wins on the spot, and after queen to g5, yeah, knight to d4, queen h4, fg4, and it's a draw. Okay, so this is a draw. Ah, okay, nice. So somehow I stumbled onto the like white's best move and black's best reply. Yeah, rook takes d4 doesn't work because of queen h4 and e1 is hanging. So that's why knight takes d4 was forced. Yeah, so this was quite fun. Yeah, now the engine just spits out knight g3, which wins on the spot. But I know, I mean, Andrey couldn't resist this rook takes d4. I was certain that there was no other move he would consider the minute he found this. And maybe it's the only move. Like rook a d1 could well be the only move. So after f takes g4, yeah, rook d3, and this is good for black. So let's see how the game ended. fg4, rook d3. Okay, after queen takes d3, the game is effectively over because black is material up with a raging attack. He has to go queen c4, which I didn't see the exact continuation. Yeah, I didn't see how to win this. That was what I was trying to say just now. So after sacrificing the queen, the game was over. Yeah, that was a fun one. But Andrey himself will admit that there was no need to go into that stuff, given that he was having an extra pawn and generally having a good position. So Benedict Ko has been mated. Thank you for following Eiffel Tower. Let's try to see any other interesting games that I have not covered yet. I mean, generally everybody is giving him a really tough fight. I've got to say. This game looks, yeah, this game looks good for black. This is Sapia 66. I think that's Frank. Yeah, that's Frank. A recreational player, I think. Is a fair way to describe him. When he was based in Singapore, he used to frequent many of the usual chess establishments. So I've seen him around. But it does look like he's doing quite well here. So later on after the game, after all the games have been completed, I will bring Andrey to the call, and he can share his thoughts. Yeah, this is a very complicated game. Not the most ideal for Simul, because you don't really want to make it is quite possible to make like small inaccuracies that can decide the game. Yeah, black's doing fine. Like, okay, he sacrifices the pawn, but there's bishop b5. Isn't there bishop b5 here? Okay, bishop b5, you have knight f6 followed by knight to c4. So maybe it's not so bad. He sacrifices a second pawn. And now bishop b5. That's very, very clever. That's clever. Yeah, knight e4 is very strong. This is good stuff. I've got to say. It does look like black is getting quite a fair bit of play, but okay, I mean, white has 2 pawns for the exchange. White is okay. Andrey is going to play bishop g2, I'm sure. And I want to put my knight on e4, but it's unlikely to be sustainable on the e4 square. Yeah, bishop g2, and probably black may still be worse here. I think if white could push e4, e5, and so on. Yeah, bishop g2 played. Not a surprise. Yeah, queen e8 and maybe queen c2. Yeah, maybe black is doing. I mean, white is doing okay here. Let's look at some other games. The Night Ninja game. Okay, I've covered that, so let's look at something else. I won't be able to cover every single game, but this one looks interesting. This one looks like. Okay, black wins because of bishop c5 and bishop d4. But it is very, very close. or just king b4, king takes b3. I think that's even more straightforward. Followed by king b2. So I think king b4 just wins against Sai. Okay, he chose bishop c5, but let's see. Let's check out this game. Another Scandinavian, another bishop e2. It's not the same game, is it? No, it's not the same game. But it looks very similar. Ah, it's the same game. I see. I got confused there. Yeah, so this is the same game that we looked at just now. So I think White put on a tremendous fight to even get this far. Now he's just a pawn down, but because his pawns are weak, there are a lot more avenues for Black to make progress. Yeah, so I can imagine rook takes b3 happening at some point. And maybe that was what happened. Yeah, now rook takes b3. Yeah, so this was the trick that Andrey has been preparing for an eternity, I think. Like putting the rook on b1 and just waiting and waiting for the right time to take on b3. Yeah, and then game over. So Andrey will win that one. Let's see if there are any other. Fluffy marshmallow. This position looks crazy. Let's look at the one against Fluffy marshmallow. A very familiar name. Alinta Quack. Alinta Quack is the first in the NSI National Schools individuals under 10 with a perfect score. But she has 26 seconds left, so time to play fast. G4, whoa. somebody must have stolen Andrey's mask or something, or toilet rolls. It feels like Black is not doing all that badly. Well, knight takes a2 is very is quite brave to even capture the pawn. I would have gone knight to b6, sort of freeing up the bishop, making sure the pawns are safe. Maybe this knight comes to d5. Okay, knight takes a2, king b1, knight b4, knight d6, takes, knight d5. Super dangerous. Yeah, knight a4, but yeah, feels like Black is doing well actually. There's bishop h3, which would be something interesting to play. Bishop h3 threatening to take on e6, and if rook takes h3, I have rook to g8 and eventual mate, I think. So let's show the line. Bishop h3, bringing a piece into the attack, and after rook takes h3, rook g8, king here, and queen g6 is mate. So instead, after bishop e6, sorry, bishop h3, threatening bishop e6, probably Black has to go queen f7. And I don't see anything too scary as of now. Yeah, not sure. I don't see anything for Black, for White, I mean. So White took on c4, grabbing back some material. So he's now just a pawn down. But okay, if you take on c4, White plays queen takes a4 and takes the c4 pawn x. Or maybe after queen a4, black plays c3. Andrey is kind of running short of time. He has 16 minutes in this game, and he still has 8 more games. So if he has the same time for the other games, so let's take a look at which other game has completed. Girard against this game I have not seen. Giraffe Giddy. Why would you put the noun before the verb, the adjective? Giraffe Giddy. Gideon Yen he finished equal third in the national age groups under 9. So after c4, knight f6, knight c3, e6, e4. Yeah, this is quite another sharp opening. Black could play c5 here, which is the main line, as well as d5. So both are quite established moves. Knight c6 is a step in the wrong direction, I think. Generally, you try not to block the c pawn if you can in the opening, unless it's essential. After d4, bishop b4, e5. Yeah, white is comfortably better. I think there's queen g4 here. Is that queen to g4? Oh, queen g4 now makes use. Yeah, now the c6 knight is working, because queen g4, knight c3. Yeah, this doesn't work because after a3, there's a5, I think. And normally there's something like bishop d2. But maybe this position is interesting, or b4 is interesting. I don't know. So queen d3 played, takes. Yeah, this is a very nice pawn center that Andrey has established. Yep, and eventually white goes f5, f6, and checkmate. Yep. Another quite brutal execution by Andrey. So the score as it stands is 7-1. This game against awesome something. Awesome 1234. Rahul Lakshmi, who's finished in the top 10 in the under 12 section. Let's take a look. How is this ending? Feels like it's winning for white, because there should be no problems establishing connected pass pawns on the queen side. Yeah, this is winning. That's for sure. So I will just play king to c3, bishop to e3, and yeah, you have to be precise though, because there's the idea of playing bishop d1 if you go king c3, and after bishop d1 you're encouraged to push the pawn. Let's take a look at this ending. Andrey has played king e3, but let's check this position. Yeah, king e3 is the most straightforward. Basically, I enter the dark squares, and then I take the pawns on the king side. Yeah, but I was saying that if you are not careful, let's say something like this, and suddenly you lose the ability to create a second pass pawn on the queen side, because now the b5 square is adequately covered. But I guess fortunately in this case, white could still have a clear path to the king side, and he could capture some material in that case. Yeah, king e3 was played, and I think this should be winning. Hold on though. Let's say I go here. It's not so straightforward, I think. A5, king a6. Bishop. Sorry, king okay, just king takes e4 and just wins. Okay. This is quite straightforward. King e3, bishop f3, and now this f3 bishop, while is securely anchored on the f3 square, but it's kind of passive. It's just doing a defensive duty to defend the e4 pawn. So this looks, yeah, this looks like it's going to be a quick conversion for white. There's an interesting thing that can happen if that is if white goes king d4, maybe black could play c5 to sort of destroy the possible connected pass pawns that white was dreaming of. So you might not want that. You might go something else. Maybe play the bishop back to f8 first to make sure that c5 never happens. So that was against awesome 1 2 3 4. I want to take a look at the game with Sean Christian Go. It looks like he has gone crazy. Rook, and how is the material count? So white is winning here. He's completely winning here. 2 pawns and a queen for rook and piece. So we ended our analysis somewhere somewhere here, and Andrey played knight c5, which Sean found a very nice tactic, which is b4, and the point being queen takes b4 is not playable due to rook to b1, skewering the rook on the b8 square. Black goes knight to e6, which is generally a very awkward square, especially the fact that the e2 pawn remains on e2 and not on e4, which means knight to d4 is never a realistic prospect because of e2 to e3. And after a4, queen c7, sorry, bishop d7, rook b1, queen c7. Yeah, this position suddenly becomes quite unpleasant for black to handle. Yeah, queen e3, rook to e8, a5. Yeah, I'm liking white's straightforward queenside play. King g8, rook b2, a6, rook db1. Rook c8, knight a4. Yeah, Sean is playing great. That's all I can say. Feels like he has taken control of the position, and at some point there's going to be e2 to e4, followed by taking over the structure. Oh, bishop d5 just okay. This is, and the queen is trapped because after bishop d7 he just goes rook b d1, I guess. Yeah, so now this position is just winning, and with 1 minute and there's increment, I think Sean should convert this. Very nice game. I'm assuming that white is going to win this after playing so well at the front, and with a couple of extra pawns at that. I don't see how black could survive this. So I think this game is quite interesting as well, against Justin Gunn. this is the Queen's Indian. I think that black has to play knight to e4, if I'm not wrong, to try to change pieces. Yeah, there's some kind of a trick here, I think. After knight to e4, queen to c2. Yeah, I don't know if knight takes c3, knight g5 is the trick. Yeah, I believe so. Like this is an quite a well-known opening trick. And now there's this and this. This two diagonals make a very nice X, but the more important thing is that it wins material. So 94 queen c2, I think f5 is the move, I believe. But anyways, black went knight b d7, e4, e5, d5, c6, cd, cd, a5, knight to f5. Yeah, white has generally taken over the position, I think. So black is extremely cramped. I think the usual plan that black normally does is not something active on the queen side, but to try to do some form of slow maneuvering, like rook to e8, g6, bishop f8, bishop g7, and then slowly trying to achieve f7, f5, but it is a very long process. c6 kind of makes it easier for white in terms of making progress. Hello T-Ducky, how are you? Knight f5, knight c5, bishop f1, rook c8, f3. At some point g4 is going to happen. Yeah, here white could have taken on b6. Like bishop takes b6, just wins a pawn. Yeah, this is a little bit strange. Like white could have taken on b6, but yeah, this. Okay, white is a lot better. Just look at the knight on a8. This is not a very happy camper, to say the least. Yeah, but I think there is some opportunity here to play g6. But maybe bishop takes g5, queen g5, and there was there's knight e7, king g7, and rook d1, supporting the d6 pawn. Yeah, this is still winning. Yeah, now queen takes b5. Oops. Queen takes b5, followed by, let's say, rook to d5, queen to c6, just strangling black's position, which is not helped by this wayward knight on a8. Yeah, so knight takes e5 is going to happen, and white wins. So it looks like still status quo. Sean is finding some resources, like knight to c8. Looks okay. The screen might be too small, so might not be able to see that clearly. This game against Vikings 9, black is 643 pawns up, and the game should be over soon. So here's the French defense. The two knights variation. quite a popular line at the club level. It feels like this position is not that bad. Let me find out who Vikings 9 is. That's Yu Kai, who finished second in the national age group under 9. So we have some really young players, but all of them have done well in some events. Not surprisingly, because I could see many games where Andrey was sort of suffering. Before white seems to be fine here, but so is black. Yeah, I suppose white ended up losing some of these pawns. I guess the a3 and the b4 pawn. It's not so easy to hold these pawns together. Yeah, and d4 is really something that you don't want to do, because after rook to c4, positionally it's just so pleasant for black to entrench this pawn on this rook on this in white's camp, followed by rook fc8. The d4 pawn is under attack. There are some ideas of rook to c3, taking a3. So yeah, d4 is certainly not a move that you want to play. But at the same time, I don't see how you can defend a3. Maybe by playing, maybe rook takes c8 followed by queen b6 is the way to go. So I'm not sure if it works. So rook takes c8, rook c8, and queen to b6. And how is this? I will take some pawns at least. Like I will take b5 at the minimum. So let's say black captures on a3, I capture on b5. It's not all that bad for white. So I mean, d4 is definitely a mistake, that's for sure. Rook c8. Yeah, and queen b6, I think this is the way to go. You have to create some counterplay against the black's weak pawns on the queen side as well. After d4, rook c4 here. Yeah, and the end is near. So even though black is just a pawn up, but it is a very important pawn, and black's dark square bishop is a lot better than white's, which is primarily doing a defensive role at the moment. So for instance, after bishop f8, f3, rook to b2, bishop e1, b4. I mean, h5 is just Andrey slow rolling his opponent, but the game is effectively just over now. Yeah, and king takes e5 and then wins. 4 minutes would be more than enough to win this position. So he has won, I think, 1 more or 2 more. Okay, so he has beaten Frank. And which are the other games that he has won? That would be... Oh no, that's the only one, yeah? Okay, he has beaten Fluffy Marshmallow as well. So I want to take a look at the Knight Ninja game. So I think just now we stopped at the point when black continued rook c5, bishop c8. This is some kind of blunder. Bishop c2 is a very nice move. And now, how is the material imbalance like? Is a couple of rooks for a couple of minor pieces, and yeah, if white manages to push the c pawn down, and then there wouldn't be any compensation that will be even close to sort of manage the material imbalance. So position is, I believe, completely lost for black now. Yeah, rook a3 is a nice defensive move, making sure or that there's no knight f3 shenanigans. Bishop G, bishop g2. So bishop g2 is the idea that if white captures on h4, there is a defensive, there's a discover attack of bishop f3. Not bishop takes e4 because queen can block on g3. Let's use the analysis board. So takes and probably bishop f3. But even this is not that clear to me. I could play king to g2. King f1, queen to g2. That's just mate. Yeah, okay. It's just mate. So instead white play bishop c2, queen f6, queen e2. And looks like white has consolidated quite nicely. Feels like the game is almost over. This knight is hanging, maybe bishop f3. And now bishop f3. I want to try to, I don't know if queen d3. Now queen d3, there's bishop f2. But maybe just rook takes f3. Can play knight f3 after bishop c2. Oh my god. Yeah, you can, of course. Yeah, I completely missed this. So thanks, Ducky and Uno Chess. So king takes g2 and knight to e1. Yeah, Ducky is a very tactically inclined player, so I'm not surprised that she's finding all these tricks in all my analysis. She also plays the same mobile games as me, which is not counting much as a clue, but yeah, let's see if it's played. Okay, thanks Uno Chess for following. Yeah, bishop c2 and yeah, knight f3 was missed, but I suppose after knight f3, white could sacrifice on f3 and gets the two rooks for the queen with a couple of extra pawns, but maybe black can hold that one. I'm not sure. Yeah, this looks. Yeah, so knight f3. I was saying queen f3 takes. Now this is hanging. f6, only move. And yeah, this doesn't look great for black at all. This does not look great. Yeah, despite Ducky and Uno Chess brilliance, but it's still very hard to defend this, I think. I don't know. So instead queen f6 was played, queen e2. Now this is a bit strange, because now I can take on e4. Bishop e4 is now something to be considered. Bishop e4 played, queen e2. So let's stay with this game for a while, since both players are in time trouble. So I'm receiving some comments that the game cannot be seen, but as in the players cannot be seen, but you should be able to see that on the right. Yeah, this is this is a very this is an exciting game to try to follow to the end, I think. Yeah, but as far as I can see, Night Ninja is doing very well. And and really it's not that trivial, given that Black's piece are sort of hovering around on the king side. It feels like there are some tricks happening. But it looks like he has already consolidated quite nicely. Queen h5 more or less forces the exchange of queens, after which the game is over. Yeah, Black has to take on h5 now, because of the h4 knight being hanging. Queen a6 plate, but gh4. Yeah, I think after gh4, resonation is in order. Yeah, gh4 plate, rook to g3, rook takes g7 is a nice idea. For example, queen to a1. Okay, now rook takes g7 and it's mate. Rook takes g7, come on. Okay, that's a bit slightly disappointing, but rook takes g7 would have been a very nice finish to the game. Okay, now you have another chance to go rook takes g7. Come on, let's do it. Okay, played. And now it's over. Yeah, this is an amazingly played by game played by Night Ninja 1. Great defense to try to hold off Black's pieces, and then somehow getting his pieces harmonized, and the finish was very nice. So that's the third loss. I'm not sure. Okay, so there are 3 games left. So Speedster, Sean. So Sean has won his game. And we have 3 games left, and 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like Andrey should be winning all 3 games. Yeah, this game on the against Awesome is 5 pawns up and should be winning. Yeah, so this should be over very soon. Thanks OGSG for following. Yeah, let's take a look at how this game, the game against Frank, finished, because yeah, as I said, after bishop g2, white is doing very well, and yeah, knight h7 is not a the h7 square is not a something that you want to put your piece on. Okay, I understand that you want to go knight f6 after that, but white goes. I mean, I would have thought e4 would be strong, followed by e5 maybe, or f5, but probably most things work. After f5, king h8, there's knight f4. I think knight f4 would be quite strong. Yeah, knight f4 was best according to the... Somebody did this analysis. Which is, by the way, a very good function of the Lichess server. The game analysis function of Lichess is actually quite thorough. Yeah, and the pawns come rolling down the board, and there's no defense. Okay, so we are very close to finishing the event. I'm going to send the link to Andrey and to kind of get him onto the call. Yeah, I'm trying to do that without affecting the stream. So Andrey has a couple of queens. Now he has one, but okay, it will be made in 7 or something, yeah? So the games are over. The final score 13-3. Very nice finish to the event. So let me just try to get Andrey to the call. So while waiting for him to join, I think it is a good time to sort of wait. Looks like I've kind of lost. Yeah, I sort of exited the screen. Yeah, I think it is a good time to talk a little bit about the charity. As you can see from the top left corner of the screen, we have currently raised $31,500, which is very close, which is not that close to what was initially set out as our target, but a very good outcome for since we launched this initiative a week ago. So there's probably going to be some kind of coverage in tomorrow's Straits Times, and quick shout out once again to Mr. Zhang Changjie, who has kindly donated a substantial amount plus offered a further donation incentive for the upcoming match against Kazakhstan. We will be announcing the player list for the event very soon, but Changjie has kindly offered an incentive of just 1 second. I think Andrey is waiting to join.
Hello.
Hey Andrey.
How are you?
Yeah, so here's Grandmaster Andrey Kvon, looking a little bit tired. So
yeah, I didn't expect it to be so difficult. Yeah,
so any games that you wanted to talk about?
I actually made a cup of tea before the games, and I realized that I made it only after I finished the last game. So just no time to look anywhere, just quite intense.
No, there were some difficult games here.
Yeah, and
But
well, I wanted to answer on some questions in the chat, but then at some point I realized that I cannot keep promise because
I think
games are just
firstly the chat is sort of it kind of got out of control. Just kept
there's a lot of nonsense. Of course.
okay. I think
Some games I think I was lucky to win just because of time.
yeah.
So my opponents didn't have time. I
Yeah.
didn't even realize that game ended because I was like playing and then I see that okay, this game from Slav doesn't show up anymore. So I was so relieved. I don't have to look anymore in that position.
I wanted to ask you about this one like before we go to the ones that actually you had some real problems. I think the one that you had the knights on e4 and g4 and then you sacrifice with rook takes d4. So
Yeah, I think there was Rook D1.
yep, that was rook d1 precisely. I think that was the
I
game.
saw it right after I played Rook takes D4. No, there were a lot of problems, and also I blundered Rook in the first game which I lost. I just forgot that knight takes G3 comes with check. So
That's the one against the
trained harder.
speedster, yeah.
Well, it was Steinitz defense, yeah, and I think I was a little bit too aggressive. In general, I was a little bit too aggressive in all the games. So.
No, that was what I was trying to say. Like, I was saying somebody cut your queue off at the supermarket, or somebody stole your toilet rolls, and
No, there was a point. Point was that I was thinking, okay, if so many people encounter problems with time, so I will just try to finish 5-6 games as fast as possible, and then I will have more time for the rest. But eventually, this strategy didn't work well.
okay, are there any games that that you feel like are worth mentioning, or something that any of the games that you might want to put an emphasis on? I personally I feel the game against Sean. I think Sean played quite well. A little bit boring position, but what do you think about that game?
Yeah, I just blundered before actually, so after that, things already not so easy. And when I played knight c5, I just forgot that he can play b4 and then rook b1.
Yeah, because
Of course, if I saw before, I won't play knight c5. I can play, for example, a5.
and followed by knight c5, yeah.
Yeah, and then black, of course, have wonderful position, but just I made some blunders. No, there were a lot of mistakes from my side, of course. So I hope I didn't undermine my
No.
position, too much with this Simul.
No, I think I think the standard of the quality of the players are not, they are by no means they are not weak at all. Many.
Yeah, I think that game I really said that I won the one when I played G4 in Slav because I actually deserved to lose that game.
That was the game with the fluffy marshmallow, yeah.
Yeah, marshmallow gave me a lot of problems. So I played the system
Guys, am I back? NF chat says no, I'm not back online. Okay, that kind of confirms that things are fine. Okay, I think Andrey is back.
Hello.
Yep.
Well, I'm trying to find any questions in the chat, but so far can't find. People just discussing games, blaming me to not find Knight of 3.
Yeah, there's something happening in the chat that says you miss Knight F3 and Knight E1 in the game that you.
No, I saw that Knight F3. Just after that, it's 2 rooks and 2 pawns against queens.
Yeah, it's probably still lost. Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, it's lost. So I thought, okay, I can just try to make some, chances. So I just jumped around.
So what was Rook C5 about? Like, no, I really liked it, but I was I was saying that the purist in me like really want the Rook C5 to work, but
Well, what I can say in the next Simul, I won't play this kind of moves. Yeah. Today I was a little bit over optimistic about my chances. So this result and the way how games went kind of brought me down to earth.
No, that's
For sure, Rook C5 is just shouldn't be working. It's just too much.
I thought you should have just gone all in with Rook F8 just to give 2 rooks.
I was thinking about that as well.
I kind of liked it actually.
Yeah. Anyway, if I play just carefully, I think I don't have any chances. Now I'm just trying to see the games, which, well, that was a quite interesting game, I think, with Lynx 88.
Let me just look for it. Lynx 88.
Yeah.
In one of the few.
But after that, the end game was quite interesting. And I don't know whether there was position when Black had rook on d2, and it was quite difficult for White to redo this one. So I'm not sure whether Black used all the chances. But that was, I think, quite interesting end game from point if White can redo pieces precisely.
Yeah, Black offered draw like 4 times.
Well, yeah, that's fine. I just that.
So I don't know. It feels like Black has fair compensation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Black should have good compensation. I don't think White have enough. And also, of course, game with Speedster, I have to admit that A5 was really strong.
Yeah, the game. Yeah, but I was wondering, you could have maybe you could have just gone Bishop G5. Just don't play B3.
Of course, I could play different moves, but I mean, my plan was to play B3 and then Black just played A5, like he read my mind. I thought, okay, I will just continue my B3 plan. But yeah, it was of course wrong. But the way how Black just stopped my plan, kind of, I admire that. How he understands that I want to play B3, I don't know.
Yeah,
no. There are so many other moves which like anyone else will play. Let's say Rook B8, but Black played A5, and it's exactly against my plan.
No, I mean, yeah, I haven't seen like the follow up after that. But when I saw A5, I was just bemused because I didn't understand it. I thought you can go Bishop G5 or Bishop F4, Rook A1.
Plan, but, yeah. You see, you don't want to spend too much time thinking about new plans. You think, okay, let's just yeah, but it didn't work. So.
Yeah, and then after that you went like G4, like very very aggressive. But maybe it wasn't so bad. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe after King H8, I shouldn't play King H1 and just play something else. But Black defended from all my threat. I mean, that like impressive. Like just brought queen to c5 in all the best games of like Sinacity and defense, like Black Green Queen to e5, consuming and they weren't afraid of anything.
Yeah.
Black did the C by putting queen on c5 and then just not afraid of any of my threats. So, yeah. So I don't see any questions in chat.
Yeah, there are a
Well,
couple.
I answered the question about knight f3.
So
And
that was the one against the one where you play rook c5, yeah?
Yeah, that was
Knight Ninja.
interesting game.
Yeah, there were some questions over knight f3, that's for sure, but probably it was still losing, yeah?
Yeah, position should be wrong.
Knight
Well, I made mistake by playing queen f6.
and there was somebody in the chat prompting you to do that actually. Which guys, please don't do that. Like, I saw somebody telling you to play this knight f3 move, and by the sound of his user, I think he's a Liverpool fan. So you are right that you shouldn't pay too much attention.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, queen f6 and knight f4 was wrong. I should have done something else. Maybe just put knight on c5 straight, and then wait for things to happen.
So sorry, you are referring to knight to f4, yeah?
Yeah, the moment when I played queen f6 and knight f4, I should have played knight c5 instead of queen f6. So then I can keep blockade and can try to play rook c7, bishop c8 with some compensation.
Yeah, maybe bishop d7 as well. Bishop c8, bishop d7, go after a4 at some point.
Yeah. But you can see from my moves how my confidence shrink over the time. Every next minute, my play was more and more and more timid.
No, but I kind of enjoy rook c5, honestly. Like, I thought I probably would have done the same. Yeah, I think on move 23, I was saying that maybe going rook f8 was possible.
Yeah, rook f8, I was thinking about that.
Just give all the rooks. It's fine, right?
Just keep blockade, yeah. But I thought I need rook to checkmate. Didn't work well for me.
Yeah, I guess I just don't really want. I really want to keep a5 at all costs. And okay, I don't. In the practical game, it might work out. Like yesterday, I saw this game between Feroja and Ding Liren, where Feroja made a draw with a rook and like 3 pawns or something. So material imbalance doesn't count so much, I guess.
Yeah. No, a lot of games I won just by some small tricks. My opponents don't have to lose. And I think a couple of games I won on time, so yeah, result could be worse.
No, I think.
At some point I was already happy that I lost only 3 games.
No, I think you were you're too a bit too hard on yourself. This is the time control also was not exactly in your favor, to be honest. I had some reservations over the time control.
Yeah, it's not easy, of course.
Yeah, it's quite fast.
But I had fun, and I mean, when you sit at home, you always happy to have anything now to do. So I'm glad and happy to participate in that.
Yeah, I actually had some intention of doing one of these myself for the Singapore crowd, but after running through like a few sessions of commentary, I thought maybe it's a better idea to stick to this and and watch other people suffer, you know.
Yeah, it's always more fun to watch other people make mistakes. You can point them out, right? The mistakes.
Yeah, definitely it's a lot more pleasant to be sitting comfortably here and commenting. Yep. So, do you have any other comments for all your fans and everybody who's watching?
Well, I don't have comments for fans since I don't have any fans. But what I can say to other, I mean, to not only to the players who played, but also to the spectators, that it shows you that whenever you play against player, whatever his strength is, you always can try to play your best, and then if you get your chance, don't let it slip.
Then don't
So
offer
I
draw,
think this
right?
Mao is a great example when
Yeah.
I think some of the players rating difference is more than 1,000. I mean, FIDE rating. But even in those games, in some of them, I was on the verge of losing or had some difficulties. And those games which went smooth for me, it's just because my opponent made some blunders. Those who didn't make huge blunders, they all gave me problems. So I would like to encourage players to play more and don't afraid of anyone.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, I think, great. And if you play against me next time, please show me some mercy. Don't play so hard on me.
I don't know how to react to that, but yeah, thanks very much for your time and for your contribution to our initiative, and just want to keep everyone updated. Next week, uh, on the 25th and on the 26th, we have a couple of international masters doing simultaneous exhibitions as well. Both of them are not active players by any means, but they are quite uh, respected professionals in their own right, and we will be releasing the information very soon on as usual on the Facebook on my Facebook via Facebook post as well as on the WhatsApp groups. So that's happening on the 25th and on the 26th. And as usual, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and also on Saturdays, the young masters are continuing their Simul events. New players will be playing, so it's going to be interesting. We have a very exciting lineup of as the way I see it, we have virtually every young master contributing to this initiative, which I personally am very very gladdened and appreciative of. That we can see people coming together to encourage contributions to the donation. And then on the 3rd of May, that would be a Sunday, the upcoming Singapore versus Kazakhstan international friendly match between it's going to be a 20 board players again 20 against 20, featuring players from the under 12 category all the way up to under 20, led by international master Tin Jingyao, who's currently in the army, but I think he should be at home on Sundays, and he has kindly agreed to lead the team's efforts. And for that event, every single match win that the Singapore team secures, whether it is 1.5 to 0.5 or 2-0, Mr. Zhang Changjie has agreed to donate an additional $1,000 to the charity. So if we win every single match, he donates 20,000. So that is his guarantee to me, and he hopes that will encourage fighting chess. Of course, we are not mercenaries, right? We are just playing chess for the enjoyment of it. But now there is some real incentive to try to boost our efforts to reach a greater target for our charity drive. So more information will be released very very soon. The posters are being done up. There will be a close preparation session for the players who are selected, and we will get in touch with you very soon. Probably setting up yet another WhatsApp group. Sorry for the 50 WhatsApp groups that we have set up, but I hope everybody has enjoyed themselves so far. And if you have any questions pertaining to our events, any concerns, any ideas, if you'd like to step forward to help us with the initiative, I'll be very happy to get in touch. So thank you very much for all your time, and I'll see you again next week.